Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel for another Gig Talk episode. It's been a while since I've done one of these. It's been definitely over a month now. And this is going to be episode number 23. So we've done quite a few here on the channel. And if you are new to the channel or this kind of content, what I like to do is basically on the way to a show or in the parking lot before I load in, a good way to clear my mind is just to turn on the camera and just talk about some sort of music related topic. Typically it's gigging related things because my mind is kind of in the mindset of gigging because that's what I'm going to do. But I'm actually not playing a show today. I actually don't have a show all week. It's really rare that that's the case. But next week and the week after I have 3 or 4 each week. So it's going to be really crazy. But I did want to film this one today. And this one is inspired by a student that just started lessons with me, an older gentleman. And it's funny because he's been playing guitar for a while on and off. But he came in and he says, before we start, I just have a lot of beginner questions. I hope it's okay to ask. And he basically, for nearly our whole lesson, he just asked me a bunch of questions that he's just never really had the answers to. And they were like really awesome questions because I've gotten these a lot, but it was kind of cool to help him out, kind of ease his mind with some of these and to make him just feel comfortable with learning guitar. You know, it doesn't matter where you start, what age or what level. That's the beauty of starting lessons, especially private lessons with a good instructor. Now, I did construct a list of 5 questions that a lot of my students asked me at one point or another. Now, it doesn't mean that these are all beginner related questions. Some of them are going to be kind of like that. But at some point, people ask me these when they take lessons with me, and they're totally valid questions. All right, question number 1 is going to be, how often should I restring my guitar, and should I learn how to restring my own guitar? Now, I'm going to start with the first half. How often should you restring? Now, my rule of thumb is really straightforward and simple. Technically, if your guitar string doesn't break, you don't have to change your string, technically. I would say a good range would be somewhere between every 6 months would be a good range for somebody that practices regularly. If you practice on and off, not too much. I mean, you could maybe get by just like every 6 to 12 months, maybe. But if you like the sound and feel of new, fresh strings like I do, especially with my gigging guitar, I restring that one pretty often just to get the best sound out of it. But I would say, if you like the sound and feel, maybe every 3 to 4 months even. I think that's good, especially if you're a casual player, if you're just playing and practicing in your bedroom at home, and following along to some YouTube tutorials like here on the channel if you want to go ahead and subscribe to Growth Music. I think that's good. But if you don't really care, if a string doesn't break, you don't have to restring it that often. And the second part is, should I learn how to restring my own guitar? I definitely believe you should. And there's a lot of great content on YouTube that you can look up and learn how to do it. There's some really cheap, minimal tools that you'll need to do the job. It's going to save you a lot of money. Let's say you have a handful of guitars. Like I said, if you take it to somebody and you're like, can you restring these 3 guitars? I mean, you're gonna probably pay over $100 to get those ones done. So it's like, you'll save money, you'll learn a good skill. And it's kind of nice to just be able to do it yourself, not have to drive out of your way to go take it to somebody. And the more guitars you have, eventually over time, it's kind of nice because you can kind of start just restring them as pairs and just knock them out, and you'll get quicker and better at them. And all of a sudden, you'll knock out a guitar in like 20 minutes. It's kind of nice. And that leads me to a really quick pointer. I haven't used this tool for a long time, probably just this last year, but there's this awesome tool winder. I'll go ahead and add a photo of that. It's really affordable. I think it's about 20 to 30 bucks, and it's an awesome tool. It helps you definitely restring your guitar a lot quicker. Highly recommend it. All right, question number 2 is going to be, how do I begin to sing and play? Now, not usually total beginners ask this question. It's usually when people are more in the intermediate realm and have some goals to be able to sing and play. But I have people ask me this, and I give them all basically the same answer. And the answer is this. I'm going to kind of go in a couple steps here. First is, if there's a song that you want to sing and play on your guitar, make sure that you can play it well first. Because the moment you add the singing on top, it's just going to make things harder, newer, and more difficult and challenging. So that's my first thing, is if you're wanting to sing, let's say, Free Fallin' by Tom Petty, make sure you can play and strum the chords first really well and comfortably and confidently before you start to sing and play. Second thing that I would definitely have them consider is, instead of, adding singing over the top of a full strum pattern, that can be difficult. I would go maybe back to your roots of just down strums. Sing over the top of some down strums so it simplifies what you're doing. And third would be to practice singing separately. Obviously, because I didn't take this advice when I first started, I tried to just sing and play right away. I was not a very good singer. I didn't know how to warm up. I didn't know how to do certain things. I wasn't comfortable singing. I think that a good skill would to be obviously to build both separately. Be able to slowly build your guitar playing abilities over time, and then also setting aside some time to take some free online lessons on YouTube or an online course and just slowly get more comfortable with singing separately, and then eventually you'll be in a perfect world where you can combine the two. So that's what I would definitely do and consider to start, is simplify and just take those 3 steps, really utilize them, because as somebody that sings and plays all the time, I've been doing it for a long time, thinking back, that would have definitely been a huge one, a time saver, but it would have really helped me out to begin with. All right, question number 3 is going to be, what kind of picks should I use, or does it matter what kind of picks I use? And when you first start, I think it's important to kind of try out a few. Everybody's different. Some people like, for example, if you're playing electric guitar, some people like those jazz picks, or kind of like those metal guitar shredder picks. And some people like kind of the thicker guitar picks as well. And that's kind of where I started. Nowadays, I have the kind of picks that I like. It's just taken a while to kind of see what works for me, what I don't like, what I do like. I don't want to give you a straightforward answer of, if you're playing an electric guitar, use this pick. But I will say this, I would definitely start with something really firm with no give for electric guitar. You're going to be able to play a bit more effortlessly, and it's going to feel nice and strong as you play, compared to if you're playing your electric guitar and you're trying to play some, for example, some heavy metal riffs, and you've got a really light pick where you have so much flexibility and give. You definitely don't want that. The tone will change as well, so you want to be mindful of that. And then the other thing is going to apply. If you're playing on an acoustic guitar and you play with heavy, thick picks that have no give, the tone is going to be different. I'm personally not a fan of that. I don't think most people are, but if you like it, that's great. That's going to be the time where you use something with a little bit more give and flexibility. I use the Dava picks, and I'll show you a photo up above of what that looks like. But I use these when I teach, when I play live. They're great. They have a little bit of a grip to them, and they have just enough give where it sounds great, the tone is good, and it feels nice and loose to play, which I love. So yes, the kind of picks that you use are important, but I do want you to experiment with what kinds, because there's different thicknesses, shapes, brands, stuff like that. So just go ahead and try a few. They do sell assortment packs online. I know when I first started playing, I just tried those out, and you kind of start to see what you like. Question number 4 is going to be, at what point should I start practicing standing and playing? Now, it's actually a pretty easy answer for me, and I tell people that first is, don't be in a rush to do it. For my first handful of years of playing, I never stood. I had no reason to stand. And, you're going to be closer to the guitar as you sit. It's going to be more comfortable, more relaxed. The moment you stand up, especially if you don't set your guitar strap right, it could feel really hard to play, almost painful, especially if your wrist has to bend in a crazy way. If you have a reason to stand and play, let's say, eventually you've been playing for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and you want to eventually play in a project or a band, or maybe you want to play solo, doesn't matter. I would then start to practice, but just be mindful of setting up your guitar strap to what works best for you. But my short answer would be, don't be in a rush to do it. I know, if you don't know any better, you might want to just right away buy a guitar strap, put it on, and start standing and playing. But your technique and your fundamentals, if you do it too early, will probably go out the window. And we definitely don't want that to be the case. We want to be comfortable guitar players by sitting and playing, and then eventually we can stand if we have a need to. All right, question number 5 is going to be the final question that I get quite often. And it's usually not so straightforward like this. They usually phrase it differently, each one of my students. And it's probably the hardest one to answer, just because I guess there's a lot of answers, and everybody needs to hear maybe something a little bit different. And that's going to be, how do I make the song that I'm playing sound effortless, or maybe they use the word perfect? And what I tell people is, you want to have a realistic goal in mind. I know when people, for example, see me do something, maybe I'm playing live and I'm playing a song, I've been playing for so long that it does come off as effortless. People have to realize that, one, for example, if you watch somebody doing something on YouTube, you never know. They could have been playing for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They could have given their life to guitar and music. And what you want to do is have realistic goals of, I've been playing guitar for 1 year. For example, I'm trying to learn the intro to Iron Man by Black Sabbath, and it's just not sounding perfect. How do I get it perfect? Understand that the longer you play, you're going to tighten things up, you're going to learn more, you're going to get more comfortable, you're just going to become a better all-around guitar player. So the thing is keep challenging yourself, keep pushing, don't get stagnant, but also don't chase early on, don't chase perfection, chase progress. I think that's a great thing and a great mentality and mindset to have, because the moment you try to chase perfection because maybe you saw somebody on YouTube play a cover and they played it perfectly and that's what you want to do, that's a great goal, but consider where you are. Consider how much time you have to practice, how much you practice, and don't overwhelm yourself with the idea of being perfect. I think that's what makes people feel underwhelmed when it comes to learning guitar. Maybe that's why people end up quitting, is they just don't feel like they're getting anywhere. Again, think week to week, month to month, year after year, progress over perfection. So just think realistically. That's really what I'm trying to get at. Now, I know this video is pretty brief. I just thought this was kind of a cool thing to go ahead and construct this quick list of 5 things that a lot of my students ask at one point or another. And I want to share them with you and my thoughts and answers. But again, if you guys do like content like this and you want to see more from the channel just like this every single week here at Growth in Music, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.